Yo, what's going on you guys? My name is Zeppelin and welcome back to the channel, and today I wanted to make a video talking about the Nacon Revolution Pro controllers and how I have had a number of problems with the ones that I've used over the years. Now I just want to put it out there really quickly that I haven't actually tried all of them, but I've tried a fair share of them, mainly the older version ones. And there are a lot of problems with them in my opinion, which is why they aren't as fondly looked upon as other Pro controllers, and we're going to get into those problems in this video. So the Nacon Pro controller line is a third-party company that got an official license from Sony to make Pro controllers around the same time that Razer did when they made their Razer Raju lineup. Now, while both lineups were not really fondly looked upon by the Pro controller community, there was something that I definitely found that I liked within the Razer controllers, especially in the very first one. And that got me thinking, well, maybe there might be something unique that I can find and enjoy in the Nacon ones, especially since it has all the added accessories such as weights. For example, you could choose what weight you wanted your controller to be. So around the time the second Nacon Revolution Pro controller came out, I picked up the first version of it, mainly because it was cheaper and I knew it probably wasn't a controller I was going to keep because I was so set on keeping the Razer Raju because it was working very well for me at the time. So I picked this up for around €100, I think it was at the time. I got it pre-owned, but it was kept as if it was brand new. I got very lucky in buying it pre-owned. However, upon receiving the controller, I instantly noticed a couple of problems with the feel of the controller that was automatically swaying me away from using it regularly. The first problem and the biggest problem for me, and while it may not be the biggest problem for you, it definitely was a major one for me, is the grip of the controller itself. Whatever material they were using on the controller was absolutely terrible. I hated the feel of it in my hands. My hands would begin to sweat. The sweat would stick onto the controls. It looked disgusting. It felt disgusting. And this would only be after 20 minutes of use. Now, when I was playing competitive Call of Duty and you'd have a controller in your hand for almost hours on end, it was just a very uncomfortable feel. And honestly, for that reason alone, I wouldn't have used the controller. Now, when it comes to other issues with the controller, I didn't particularly like the back buttons on it to use. I thought initially that they looked cool when I was picking the controller up, but in practical use, they didn't feel very nice and they didn't work very well. And it's the same with the X, triangle, circle and square buttons on the controller. They were just very soft to press. There was no clicky tactile feel to them. So a lot of these things combined together made the controller quite unsatisfactory to use. Now I know that sounds like a very brief and overall presumption on what people like and dislike about controllers, but I feel like my sentiment is shared with a lot of controller users in the market, especially the controller users from when the PS4 was at its height. If you go onto any used gaming website and trying to pick up used controllers, for example, you will see the Nacon Revolution version 1 there sitting lower than the DualShock controller. Shockingly enough, it sits way lower than the DualShock controller. And then of course you can tell that people saw problems in the controller because there was the V2, the V3 and the Revolution Pro Unlimited. They made so many different variants of the controller trying to fix the micro problems that were there that people were complaining about, and in my opinion, I don't think they ever really did fix them. Now, there could have been problems in the controller with regards to stick drift. However, I was very lucky when I had mine that I had absolutely no stick drift with it, but the fact that they released so many different versions of the controller over a period of about 2 years makes me think that people were maybe complaining about more than the issues that I had with the controller. Maybe stick drift was a common problem. Now, if I had to grade this controller in terms of the other third-party Pro controllers that were made for the PS4, it would fall pretty low on the list. It does have some good things about it, and I have seen some people rave about it in reviews, and that in itself should make you think, well, don't take this guy's word for it necessarily when watching this video or when watching someone else's video. It may be a controller that you love same way as the Razer Raju. While a lot of people did not like that controller, it is probably one of my favorite Pro controllers. It is all personal preference at the end of the day, but the stats and the numbers and the amount of controllers that they made and the price of the older controllers tell you a tale that does not lie. The controller did not do very well, and it is not sought after by a lot of people for pretty legitimate reasons. So when grading this in comparison to other Pro controllers, I mean, you're paying well over €200 for a Scuff, for example, which automatically puts these two controllers in a completely different ballpark in terms of the market that they would now be aimed at. I think you can pick up the Revolution V1 for close to €35–45, which is dirt cheap, and if you're looking for a real entry-level controller, I would definitely say you should pick it up to see what back button attachments are like. However, if you are there with no controller and a little bit of money to spend, I would recommend going up into that €70–80 bracket and either picking up a used Razer Raju, even Tournament Edition for €100, or just getting the DualShock 4 controller and getting the back button attachment for it. I think I might have spoken on this briefly before, but I cannot praise enough how perfect the back button attachment is for the PlayStation 4 DualShock controller. Now, while the rest of that controller doesn't have the bells and whistles of a Pro controller, the back buttons alone are probably some of the best back buttons on the market, and if all you are looking for is those buttons for your competitive gameplay, then there's no reason not to buy it. And if you already have a DualSense controller and you can pick up a back button attachment for £30, I would highly recommend doing that over getting the Nacon Revolution. You may read about the Nacon Revolution controller and see that it has all these little accessories with it, and it really tries to sell you a product that is of premium quality, but realistically it's just throwing a bunch of junk on top of an average controller to try and make it seem premium, or at least in my opinion anyway. And for that alone, on top of everything, I would recommend you stay away from the controller. Now, I will admit I have not tried the latest controller, the Nacon Revolution Unlimited, something like that. It's the latest Nacon Revolution controller. I have not tried it. I have no intention to try it. I have not read much about it, but from looking at the design, they have not changed much, and I've seen one reviewer talk about it, and a lot of the problems that he lists seem to be problems that I had with the very first variation of the controller, which makes me think they have not fixed much, and it's not worth paying the extra money to pick that controller up. You're paying well over 100 for that controller. At that point, I'd say invest in a Razer Raju Ultimate, provided it's working, or go for something like Scuff or AIM or Battle Beaver. Just stay away from Nacon. That's pretty much all I have to say in this video. Sorry, it's not more of a descriptive video of the problems itself. I just feel like the problems in this controller lie at a very basic level that don't need me to go into depth, and that shows up the shortcomings of this company when making this controller. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, please subscribe, it would really mean a lot. If you have any questions on the Nacon Revolution controller, leave them down in the comments below, or if you think I am chatting complete nonsense about the controller and you love it, please tell me why, and I will more than happily debate you on that. I love talking to people about what they like and dislike about different brands of Pro controllers. It's very interesting to hear your opinions. But thank you very much for watching, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Peace.